Wageni watatu Mheshimiwa Sebastian Kapufi mbunge, ambao ni wadau wa maendeleo kutoka Marekani. Wadau wa maendeleo kutoka Marekani, karibuni sana.
Container packed with supplies that need to make their way to families in Africa, like yesterday. You said this is a 53-foot trailer?
53-foot trailer.
This trailer is packed with medical supplies destined to the motherland. We need to help get these out of here. Are you tired of fighting with your wife or with your husband? Have you each retreated into your separate corners, not even trying to speak to each other anymore? Are your children witnessing a toxic marriage rather than a purposeful partnership? Hi, I am Shar, and I am an attorney mediator and experienced in helping families for the past 13 years navigate really challenging times. And I am here to help you. Husbands, hear your wives. Wives, hear your husbands. So together we can find the truth why your family is struggling and what it will take to get unstuck from cycles of misunderstanding and patterns of frustration. Join me live on YouTube on this Monday night at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern as I conduct a live mediation. And if you would like to be heard, if you would like to hash out a misunderstanding with your spouse here on our live, sign up now to apply for your free opportunity to mediate. And I look forward to seeing you Monday night.
Shalom. Salama. Siemi. Shalom. Greetings to all my Israelite brothers and sisters from around the world. Whether you're the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the house of Israel, or you're a Gentile grafted in under the blood of Yahushua HaMashiach, I welcome you this morning on our Friday Q2UA live discussion special report. A divided nation. Not only is this nation divided, we see that this nation is getting ready to be rolled up into hospice care, that we're just trying to see a comfortability towards the inevitable demise into the fate of the last breath being sown while it battles bouts of dementia at the same time. No, family, this is not a joking matter. This is a matter to where we see in the scriptures what Genesis chapters 12, Genesis chapter 15, Joel chapter 3, Obadiah, Zechariah, Daniel, the list goes on and on and on. You see this in Isaiah because why? Here is the darkness that's here in the horizon. We're here, family. I brought in Sister Shar, our legal correspondent.
Shalom, Brother Care. Shalom, family.
I have Brother Garth. He is our on-scene correspondent. He should be in Lower Manhattan sometime this afternoon, armed with his cell phone.
Don't you put that on me, Ricky Bobby.
His cell phone and his French translator, and he's gonna go to work.
Don't you put that on me, Ricky Bobby. Shalom, family.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Oh my goodness. Oh, so we were talking about all the things, it's not a time to get drastic per se, but drastic measures are about to happen. Before we get into that, today is Question Night Africa Friday. And this segment is dedicated to the mission of Quest Unite Africa, Q2UA, which is to build critical infrastructure and economic development on the continent for the benefit of Africa and its people. And we're going to go and we're going to touch in all these facets because I'm going to tell you this is going to be an incredible show. This is going to show you what's happening in the world and why we need our volunteers and what we have for our expectations of future volunteers and why we are utilizing our strategic partnerships to facilitate services to different African nations on the continent. I'm praying that we'll have our Met Gala update and summer seminar. But the question I have on that one is, will will that be done under the scrutiny of some blue helmets? I'm just saying. We'll get into all of that. Oh my goodness. Okay, so just to give you the backstory, there's been a lot of things that's happened this week. The U.S. has green lighted the use of long range weapons into Russia. That was yesterday. You also had China blowing up, and they're gearing up towards the Taiwan island. That's all happening. You also have Iran gearing up and going crazy. And you just had the rebuke of the UN Security Council, strong rebuke on the state of Israel. So, what does that mean? Why this big distraction for right now? Because honestly, something is getting ready to pop off. Something's going on. And so I'm going to talk to Sister Shar. We're just going to give the procedural, the legal procedural next steps potentially. This is our analyst, right? So allow her to analyze as our analyst legally.
You
Go ahead.
know, you have all these analysts and correspondents going on over here at Covenant Awakenings, and it's delightful. So, um, I number one don't practice law in New York, and I do not practice criminal law. But it appears that this is a charge that he can face up to 4 years of prison time, and from what others are saying, maybe he might do prison time, maybe not. So for the time being, he's just awaiting sentencing when he's going to return, and the judge is going to declare whether or not there's prison time. So this is scandalous. It has always been scandalous. There was some complex maneuvering trying to remove it from the state of New York and the political mechanisms of the court system in New York, but those got smacked down by the federal judge, and it remained a state case. Which, if he does get a prison sentence, he could end up in a New York state prison. So it's fascinating to behold. Like, first your homie caught a charge on the international court, and now your former president catches a case, and is convicted of a state crime, convicted of fraud, lying, falsifying documents. I mean, surprise, surprise to all of us who knows that the man is a liar. But we're all just, hanging on sitting on the edge of our seats, waiting to see, will he get prison time or not? And to your point, Brother Karras, this is a huge distraction. Like, this is so scandalous. There has got to be something else cooking that they don't want us paying attention to, because now everyone's holding their breath for June 11th. Does Trump go to prison or not?
And the crazy thing is that, everything is really cooking up in Europe right now. Basically, let's just put all the cards on the table. Europe is getting ready to go into Ukraine. That's how that's going to go. They already are saying it. They've already prepared their people. They're going to get that taken care of. This is my personal synopsis. This is just my personal synopsis. This was done because this was step one into the devolvement of this nation, of the United States. So then, right at war, and now war will cause what? Civil disturbances, and civil disturbances will cause the inability to hold free and fair elections. Let's just call it what it is. And now we're seeing this play on out, and people are looking to see, well, is anybody going to stop this? Is anybody going to, look at what's happening and, try to be a champion per se? And so, as Sister Shara and I were talking about this, again, we saw this happening. Nobody would have thought, especially after the 2021 elections, that it would have gone to this. Yeah, there were some political extremisms and things of that nature, but to me, this is horrible.
This is bad. I mean, first, you have the current president falling every time you see him. Reading, cues off of teleprompters, clearly out of his mind and unfit for office. A public spectacle of the decline of American power. Then you have your former president convicted for being a liar. And the world is scrambling to position itself in Africa for the come up as this country is falling.
Mm-hmm.
This is huge.
All while our puppet master is under the biggest scrutiny it's ever faced. And you know what I mean by the puppet master. So, that nation, the Mediterranean nation, is under scrutiny just like us. It's not a coincidence. And honestly, I'm just disgusted by how massive the psyop is, and they bring Trump up at this time. I'm like, making it a bigger deal than it is a psyop in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something huge is gonna happen.
Something huge, Garth. Something bigly.
Something huge. Something gigantic. I told you. I didn't lie. I just left out truth.
Something bigly's about to happen. Oh my goodness.
As they say in New York, they don't even say, if you're around New York, they say, instead of saying huge, they say huge. They don't even pronounce the H. It's going to be huge. It's going to be huge.
Yeah. Can you imagine how many people about to start getting into fights at the water cooler over this?
Mm-hmm.
This is so divisive.
We don't talk about politics here. Oh my goodness. Yeah, listen, I'm in Florida. Do you know how many people are going to start? Listen, if Rojo was on out there, we need to have a bolo for Rojo. Rojo, be on the lookout for.
We need a proof of life.
Listen, I got scared when Rojo said he was in, Pennsylvania. I'm like, at least South Philly? Nah, he said he was in the suburbs. I said, at least on the New Jersey side? He said, nope. On the Pennsylvania side, I said, oh boy. So if anybody has seen our boy Rojo, please let him know we're concerned. We're trying to make sure that he didn't catch no cases because of the pew pews and the Skittles. Oh man. But going going back into this, I don't think, to me, I don't think you're going to start to see anything of immediate effect yet, because what they'll do, what they're going to end up doing is, more than likely today, they will file to an appellate court for the verdict, and then they'll have another court case together. So they're going to be, it's going to be appealed. It'll be appealed. But the sheer audacity of then stating that they are a democratic nation, and then they want to have other countries adhere to democracy. Now it's like, I don't know if you can even stomach your own hypocrisy, because look at what you just did. Go
This
ahead,
is a
Char.
huge failure of democracy. Like, huge. When your justice system is politicized to interfere with an election, and you are supposed to be the one that is advancing, the cause of democracy, and have used democracy as a pretext for all of your evilness that you've perpetrated throughout the world. And now your democracy is failing in plain sight.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Look, we were digging into this till about what, almost 7 o'clock yesterday. We were digging into this, and I was throwing on out, look, this is some of the things that I was able to ascertain, right? And follow me here. It may or may not happen. This is just what I was looking at. So, that appeal is going to come on. It's going to go through. It is. When that appeal goes through, it's going to be at a federal level. Where it'll be held at the federal, probably the downtown Manhattan Federal Court. I believe that when it gets to the appeal, then you're going to have basically all hell breaking loose, because, there's going to be certain rhetoric that's going to be stated, because generally speaking, you may have the appellate court still uphold because it's still in New York.
Well, procedurally speaking, and again, I don't know how they do things in New York, but this is a state case.
Yes.
So generally speaking, when you want to appeal a court, you go to the higher court of the jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Which would be the equivalent of the Florida Supreme Court, right? For a criminal case in Florida, you would try to appeal to the Supreme Court of Florida. So again, my expectation of an appeal would be to a higher state court. Whether or not that appeal would keep him from having to sit in a cell remains to be seen if he is sentenced to prison time. Now, as far as the federal aspect of anything that they might do to try to keep him out of prison, it could just be some kind of new case alleging, I don't know, who knows, some kind of federal, and there has to be a federal question to get into a federal court. And so the federal question would have to be something akin to the state prosecutors or the judge himself committing a federal crime. That would be an interesting approach for me to see them raise federal claims against the process or against the actors in the state case. But I don't put it past his army of mercenary attorneys to throw any and everything they can at both the state and possibly the federal courts.
Yeah.
To keep him out of prison or to tie this thing up. Now, maybe the judge might decide, hey, this will just be 2 years of house arrest. Who knows? But the thing that could happen if he is sentenced is that he will be taken through that back door. That's on the side of the courtroom next to the bench, and he's gonna have a wardrobe change while appeals are filed or other cases filed. I don't know if they're gonna go that far.
So I'm going to ask you then, Sister Shar, why did we not see him be then, in process, and he was taken to his, lower Manhattan domicile?
This is the first time we've had a former president convicted of a crime.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate the great deal of caution to be quick to handle him the same way you would any other convicted felon, by just carting him off to the back of the to the back room,
to the paddy wagon.
Yeah, like this is unprecedented, right? So what you don't want to do, and look, the last thing that this judge wants to do is make a decision that is going to implode the entire system.
Mm-hmm.
And for that reason alone, maybe this might be, some kangaroo foolishness just to kind of like keep him tied up so he's off his game during the election or whatever. Who knows? I would not want to be this judge, because whatever this sentence is going to be epic if it involves any incarceration time.
Set a whole new legal precedent that because really honestly, in studying law when I was like younger in college, I remember if to take it to a federal or higher level court, there's a certain amount of scrutiny. He'd have to like prove that somehow the state is messing with his civil rights or something like that, or if the case is a certain amount of money that they would bring it to a higher court. Don't quote me on that. But
that is correct.
Oh, okay.
But also federal is higher but parallel. Mm-hmm. So, this is a federalist system where states have sovereignty. Mm-hmm. And the federal jurisdiction, if it has laws concerning the same type of subject as a state, then the federal law supersedes the state law. That's when the federal law is higher than the state law, but the states are sovereign.
Under the 10th Amendment, correct? Because they have, unless I believe unless their 14th Amendment is in conflict with the state's right to legally have autonomy to their own border, I believe that's where the conflict lies. I forgot what case, but I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, there's a couple of questions I believe you can run for president. You actually can. The president is the highest office. It's the office that's there for the people. That was just like saying you can't have George Washington as president because George Washington is recognized or was recognized as a, war criminal by the United Kingdom. You see what I'm saying? But it's the representation of the office that the people elected.
Well, they can elect. Yeah, constitutionally, the type of conviction that would disqualify him from office would be treason.
Exactly. And this wasn't treasonous. This was just not just, but yeah,
this was like a low-level felony, like the lowest level that's considered a felony in their classification of crimes in the state of New York. So this is like not a first degree, but like a third degree. Okay. And it's a barely felony, which is why there's so much speculation whether or not he would even get prison time, because it's up to 4 years. That would be the harshest penalty for this crime, but it's not treason. And treason would be a federal claim, right? So if there were claims of treason, those would have been brought by the Federal Department of Justice
Yeah.
to the Supreme Court. It would be a Supreme Court conviction of treason that would disqualify him from office. That's not what this is.
Exactly. And you realize that this is now a tit for tat. So if I'm going to tell you this, if Trump were to be elected, then he would then go fully after Joe Biden. And there are numerous claims and numerous don't think that they don't have anything on him and his son. It was just the fact that they weren't going to produce anything for him and his son. Oh, they have everything on him and his son. So when he's in office, him and his son are going to get convicted. This is why you're seeing now a political demonstrative reaction. And to answer Brother Brian's question, yes, he can get a top secret security clearance. He's the commander in chief. That's literally what it means, commander in chief.
Yeah, he's not disqualified from the office on this charge, but they've been keeping him busy because he still has a case pending in Georgia for election tampering. So they have been keeping this. They have weaponized the courts to stop this man from pursuing this office or for some kind of other, potentially I don't know, orchestrated hot mess with this election cycle. But the timing of it is fascinating because the criminal case was just filed just a little over a year ago, right? And to have a trial in a year in most jurisdictions, that's pretty quick.
That's very quick.
Yeah. They were making haste to push this case through. And the timing of it is correlating with the election cycle. So, there's much to be, there's a lot of side eye that I have with all of it. And for me, it's a huge distraction. I'm like, okay, this is what's in the headlines. What do y'all have going on that that's not being reported?
Yeah, brother Ivan, I'm with you. I'm waiting to see Trump life, tattooed right above his left eyebrow, and
the next rapper that says I beat the case like Trump.
I beat the case. We're laughing, but we shouldn't be laughing. But that's the truth. Someone asked about the Secret Service. We asked about that too. Like, I guess the Secret Service is going to be doing the bid just like Trump.
Man, this thing is so novel. And you know what? That could be one of the issues that gets raised in a federal court, asking a federal question whether or not a convicted former president is still entitled to the Secret Service protections. That's a legal question. It's never been tested before. This is unprecedented. This is insane.
So let me talk to Brother Brian. All right. So because I used to work on the adjudications of secret security clearances and top secrets and things of that nature. It's actually not a double standard because the question is, he is an elected official, and he's elected official at an executive office. So yes, a regular civilian cannot get a top secret security clearance if they have a felony. But if you are an elected official, yes, you can. Yes, you can. That's the executive office. That's, hey, and that's literally what they have to say. Okay, I don't care what my, issue is. See, remember, they were trying to slow all that down in Trump's, first presidency, because there are some folks that had very, unscrupulous activities. But it did not matter because guess what? Trump overall was the adjudicating official. He was the one that could adjudicate because he's elected to the highest office. So it doesn't matter about security clearances. Now you understand what security clearances are all about. It doesn't matter. That's why you had leak after leak after leak after leak in the Trump presidency. Because why? Because people didn't care about security clearances. Let's just be honest.
You know how repugnant this looks? The high, like, imagine like the president is on house arrest, White House arrest, with
White
an
House
ankle
arrest.
monitor. White
Hmm.
House arrest. I mean, geez, it's just deplorable, and just makes the laughing stock of the highest, or the highest court, or executive position of the land. That's kind of it's just like literally the highest form of political theater I've ever seen in my life.
Hmm. Yeah. So, so that's the whole issue with that. Now, I came into a lot. I do a lot more drastic thinking with everything, especially when we're talking about federal and state and things of that nature. And there was a um there was literally there was literally a bill that was done earlier this year. I'm gonna put this in this. This is from Miami Herald. If I can actually get to this article, and I may not be able to get to this article. Okay, maybe I can under WTSP. All right, thank you, local Tampa station. That works. Because, all right, you're going to start to kind of see how I'm putting all this together. And it's going to get crazier and crazier. You're not going to hear this anywhere else here, folks.
Folks,
I'm the
listen up,
I'm
folks.
I'm the southern south of the Canadian border prepper.
Yo, that man, not to cut you off, but this video this morning,
These are unprecedented times. Unprecedented times.
I'm hearing my tractor folks just tilling the land. Well, that sounded like an Irishman, but not a Canadian.
Okay. All right. So I want to show this because I said something to Sister Shar, Brother Red, Sister Patea, all of us. And I said this. I said, he could probably call up the Florida National Guard or the state militia. And he could go to New York and get Trump himself. And they looked at me, they're like, how does that work, Brother Karras? I said simple. I've shared in the chat this article. I like to give articles. I like to give you all, here's the ground truth. Yes, Governor DeSantis is reviving a state military force in Florida under his control. Congress authorizes state forces, and experts say that means they could still be subject to federal intervention. Florida lawmakers have finalized a $107 million budget to fund the state's revived military force. Here we go. The proposal was signed into law by Governor Ron DeSantis on May 26th. That was last year.
And if I'm not mistaken, Trump's mugshot was around this same time around this.
Around the same time, because why? They were already getting this in play.
Oh man, checkers not check. I mean, chess
Chess,
not
not
checkers.
checkers. Come on now. DeSantis first announced he'd be reestablishing the Florida State Guard in December 2021. Because why? They already saw this coming. Critics had characterized it as a vigilante militia and secret police solely under DeSantis' command. I'm telling you. Here's all the stuff. I put it on in there. Yes, under state law, the Florida State Guard would be under the control of the governor, but whether that power is immune to all federal intervention needs context. They don't have clarity on it. And guess what? That means they'll go. Nothing has been said. Nothing has been clarified. Nothing has been that legal question has not been resolved nor answered. And where? In a federal court.
Yeah, I'm sorry, bro, Karis, not to cut you off, but it won't matter because I mean the executive branch would have to no, the judicial branch would have to interpret the law if the law was ever challenged. And by the time that they use this, I mean, will it matter? Will it matter? Like the court of law matter?
Exactly. Now they're scrambling. I'm telling you, they're scrambling at the federal level to try to probably bring this case. We need to define this. That's what they're saying at the federal level. We need to define this because what happens? It's not a question of if. What happens when Governor DeSantis says, I'm ordering the Guard to bring back a resident of the state of Florida that has been wrongfully convicted, wrongfully had due process, right? And we'll have them under our auspice until we can have a resolution. Y'all didn't understand. This is how civil wars are shaped.
Yeah, man, this is wicked. This is like some Palpatine stuff, like Order 66. It's like, oh, it's like a whistle. Like they already knew that this was going to happen. And like you said, that's law last year. And then I remember everyone was making fun of that mugshot around the same time.
Yep, because CNN went crazy. MSNBC went crazy. Oh, look, who's going to do this? No, they already knew what this thing was going to look like. Because now you have a question of the federal order. Is the federal order then being used to create political prisoners? This is the question right here. Again, I'm not left. I'm not right. I'm just telling you what I see. We're just explaining. Yeah, go ahead.
My only counter to that is because I remember a long time ago, literally as I was graduating, they passed that NDAA Act. How would that be relevant? Because you were talking about political prisoners and the federal government. I mean, they could. I mean, if you are like in support of whatever Trump or DeSantis are doing, you could probably be, you know,
that is then, and remember, that is then a question of states' rights.
Yeah, and another jailbreak law, right? So this issue of federalism is so deeply entrenched in constitutional jurisprudence that any challenge of any state's power to assert its rights to keep the federal government in check literally becomes a battle of a nation against the nation. Like, this is where we have to see that states can position the assertion of their constitutional power on the same level as the federal government. That's why we have to be careful that we don't always say that the federal law is higher than the state's law, because anything that is within the state's authority or jurisdiction and reserved only to the states cannot be infringed upon by the federal government. So these issues between states and the federal government, they must be duked out in the Supreme Court, because that is the crux of the balance of power under the US Constitution.
That literally nullifies the. I'm not gonna say it nullifies, but that, I mean, not that I absolutely believe in the Bill of Rights, but the Bill of Rights is then up for interpretation then, because from what I understand and how I study jurisprudence, that there's only a certain amount of, because I believe the Bill of Rights are the rights that no matter where you are, if you're a U.S. citizen, the state can't infringe upon those rights.
That
But
is correct, because that is where there is federal supremacy. So the federal government has supremacy with respect to your constitutional rights. So the only power that states have with respect to an individual's constitutional rights is to give you more rights than what the federal government has already declared under its constitution or its constitutional laws. So the states can expand protections, but they cannot reduce protections that are given to you as an individual under the Constitution of the United States.
Oh, wait. Sister Sharp, please explain that again, because now you're starting to see this is now the shape up. I'm telling you, you'll never get a panel anywhere in social media live streaming like what we have right now. I stayed up all night in my tractor.
listen, folks, it's about to go down, folks.
It's a boat, not about. It's a boat to go down. Oh.
So let's talk about the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment, by design or intention, was about the state's right to have a militia for the purpose of assisting the federal government or keeping the federal government in check. The Second Amendment was always about the balance of power between the state and the federal government. So whenever there is a clash, whenever there is a power struggle, because even when you look at gun laws, they are regulated on the state level.
Oh my goodness.
So these
from vigilante militia to a secret police, those are just some of the ways critics have characterized the governor.
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry about that.
So any challenges to, in this example, Florida's power to militarize its militia under the Second Amendment potentially becomes a war between the state of Florida and the federal government, because the state has the right to regulate firearms issuance, firearms law. These are governed by the states. You don't go to get a federal license for a weapon. You go through your state law.
And there's a database that the state then uses to go to the federal to make sure that, you didn't have any charges or any issues in other states. But it is primarily a weapons permit issued by that state.
And Brother Charles, yes, the issue concerning the slavery question was whether or not states had a right to regulate slavery under the state's property laws.
Oh my goodness.
And as you're speaking, Sister Shar, I literally remember my senior symposium. I had to argue the constitutionality of gay marriage at the time, and that was like one of the hugest like questions: is marriage a right? Can do states have a right to, you know, govern marriage, even though it's even though it's like a private thing? You know, that at the time, that just kind of raised that question about, you know, if that's a actual, I believe, what was the word, a civil right to is marriage a civil right, just like the right to bear arms is a civil right? And can the federal government make a law that trumps all those rights? Which, I mean, they did when they passed the gay marriage law, but at the
Yes,
same
so absolutely. So anytime a question comes, who should have the final say, which is really what the federalism fight is about in the Supreme Court, there has to be a redefining. So by calling it a civil right or by calling it a constitutional right under the US Constitution, the federal government gets to make the higher law. But any right that is defined as a state's right or a state question, a question of state authority, the federal government cannot encroach upon the state's determination or self-determination.
Okay, let me put this into context for some folks. So, so you're kind. I want you to kind of read along, kind of the same mind frame that I'm looking at this, right? All these questions, it should be spinning in your head like a hamster wheel. Where can this go from here? Remember, we've always said this, especially on Covenant Awakenings channel. This is Quest Unite Africa. Thank you for your support for Quest Unite Africa. We bring these provoking, mind stunning questions that should really make you question where it is that we're at in this time that we're at. But in order to do that, we need your help. Thank you, family. You can help us at visiting quest2uniteafrica.org. That's quest2uniteafrica.org/donate-2024. All right, thank you. So that was that. Sorry, family. That I have to say that contractually at least 5 times. So that was the first of a couple many. The lawyers here. I'll get in trouble if I don't do my job. So I got to do my job.
You know, I'm gonna need you to stop playing with me.
I'm sorry. No, I'm just messing with you. That is not my. That's not the real job, but kind of sort of.
Hey, look, we're a nonprofit organization that recognizes that the unity of our people is our power and Africa is our future. So that is what makes sense about Quest Unite Africa. Everyone else but us have already gotten the memo about where the future of the world's economy is, and that's Africa. Everyone is positioning themselves in Africa. And so now we as a people who are literally witnessing the controlled demolition of Babylon, this place is being taken down. This place has become a sideshow and a circus. This place is a spectacle with a fallen, tripping, demented president and now a former president convict and potentially suspended elections depending on what unfolds this summer. This is a hot mess. And so our people have an amazing opportunity to be unified right now and to start strategizing together how we're going to take care of one another, how we're going to cover each other, how we're going to bring all of our resources, gifts, and talents and share them so that no one among us goes without. There will be no lack among us so long as we are operating together. So that is what Quest Unite Africa is about, and we are moving as a tribe, family.
So let me get back to this, because Love for Yah is literally, she's going down the path that I'm bringing us down. She's going down the path. Okay, so if I'm just saying this is a question. This is just speculation, right? But I'm telling you, this is what is on the books. This was what was foreseen last year. And literally a year from the date we're seeing this question come into play. Trump is a legal resident of the state of Florida. The state could say, we are seeing this railroad because this person here, who is a legal resident of the state of Florida, is about basically had just gotten the default presidential candidacy for the Republican Party. And all of a sudden, these charges go up. It's a kangaroo court. So we have to be able to protect him during this election cycle because people can see the craziness going on with this election. And if he's there in the state that's controlled by these groups that is really against, the selection process, these are the arguments potentially.
From vigilante militia to a secret police, those are just some of the ways critics have characterized the governor's plan to revive the Florida state.
Okay.
So you're basically saying his due process is, and his right to a fair trial is in question.
Bingo. And that could potentially be the federal question. That could potentially be, hey, we got to get him so then this can be adjudicated. We're not here to do what? We're not here to fight anybody, but we're here to take back, this candidate for president, because now people can see that there's something wrong with this process. This thing is about to open up a whole crazy behind can of worms.
Really, my jurisprudence brain from school is like, spinning. I'm like, there's so many angles, and I can just see the laws becoming more draconian.
That's correct. So then what happens? If Florida says we did that, then what could end up happening? Then Biden can say, hey, we got to call up forces to do what? To go after Florida.
And then Texas is like, we got your back.
Bingo. Texas falls right in line. And then that's the South. You would literally have a civil war line potentially in 60, 70 days.
It's so obvious that that's the intended outcome, though.
Yep.
Like, it's glaring that the intended outcome is a civil war. It's like there are so many dimensions of division in this country right now. There, you can't put it back together with super glue. It's that bad. And so what do you do when you realize that your nation is a failed state?
It's a failed state. Did you hear this? It's a failed state. This is why Q2UA live discussion special report, a divided nation. You're seeing a failed state. What happens with any type of civil war or civil conflict or civil engagement, it always becomes a question of a political rival. You've seen it from Africa to Europe to Asia to South America.
They're already calling their own country a banana republic.
Bingo.
If the elections are suspended because of this mess, that is, irrevocable evidence that this nation has become a failed state.
And not only that, you're right.
When do you think that they're going to suspend it? Honestly, to me, this is just my opinion. This is my opinion. Take it or leave it. I think they're going to suspend it around August. I believe they're going to suspend it around August.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But will we be surprised that this place would become a failed state when in their own constitution, we're still only considered 3/5? That was never amended.
No. The
Constitution has been amended several times, but there was never any amendment that made us human.
Okay. All right. We're walking down this path. Look, you already know Brother Carrots has some things to show. I got some things to present. We're walking down this path. Okay, Garth put in the chat how you can support Quest to Unite Africa. We're a 501c3 nonprofit charity. We can only do this because of your support, just like PBS. Maybe not, but you know what I'm saying. Share this video because I'm going to tell you this. If you didn't understand why the Most High was having us move, now you understand why the Most High was having us move. I don't want to give. I don't feel like giving. I don't care what you feel like. Because there's going to be a time where you're not going to want to feel like leaving your house, but you're going to probably get thrown out your house. Because why? Because the question of your citizenship will be called into play. And if they can't figure you out, guess what? They'll figure out where to contain you. We can't, they're not quote unquote prisoners of war. They're just detainees because why? We can't answer a question on their status as we're about to pop off. You think I'm playing around with this? I'm not. This is deadly serious. So now where are you going to go? Where are you going to run? Where are you going to hide? Well, all I wanted to do was watch that next special of Law and Order SVU where they mimic the episode with the president going to jail at Rikers Island.
I didn't even know that such an episode existed.
Oh no, they're they're writing that episode right now. That's what
okay.
That's what people are waiting on. Oh man, I can't wait till they have that SVU episode. Dun, 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 dun. I mean, so this is the question. Yeah, Jewel Hales just said it. Whether we are citizens or not. Whether we are citizens or not. All right. I'm going to drop this in the chat. I do not endorse this group. This is just for fair use. This is just for informational things. I dropped it in the chat. I'm going to present this. This is fair use. This is for information. I got to say this because if not, you're going to see why YouTube may shut down this channels, and we may have irrevocable harm. That's why we have the lawyer here. Part of what Garth and I were doing, let me hide this comment. We were talking to our brothers and sisters on the continent. And, this to me is more appropriate day by day. Because if you didn't understand what was going on and how things are happening, this is what's going on. This is a non-Hebrew, non-Israelite, none of that. This is just our people understanding that there's a legal question that has to be determined. Garth and I and Sipaway, when we were talking about this, he was a brother we met in Burkina Faso. No, this is to be shared. I just haven't been sharing it. But this, yeah. Because now here's the question that we all have to understand, that this is a question that has been worked on. And they're working on this. So this was from February 14th, 2023. Defining the Afro descendants' right to return to their ancestral homelands on the African continent for the 8-pack part 1. I'm not going to go and drill too deep into this because you all can see this is a Pan-African Congress. You can read everything else on in here. You know, there are some things that I don't agree with, you know, largely don't agree with, but I want you to know how things have been shaped. And so they come here and they say RTR, right to return, is based on the second historical fact that Pope Nicholas V and the King of Portugal declared total war against the land of Guinea, June 18th, 1452, in a document called Dum Diversus. The document stated, "We grant to you full and free power through the apostolic authority by this edict." What is that? The Catholic Church. Apostolic is Catholic. To invade, conquer, subjugate. What is that? The Saracens and pagans and other infidels and other enemies of Christ. Why is Saracen so important? Well, check out Brother Dante's channel, Black History in the Bible.org. Is it Black History in the Bible.org? Let me get that link. Let me get that link. Sorry, family. Yep, sorry. It is not .org. It is .com. My bad. I'll drop that link here in the chat. BlackHistoryInTheBible.com. So you can understand why the terminology of Saracen was so important, why it was so vitally important, why they don't want you to know that you're not just a Negro. You're a Saracen. Why were you in England as a Saracen? Why were you in France as a Saracen? Why were you in the Netherlands? Why were you in Germany? Why were you in Italy? Spain, Portugal as what? Saracens. Actually, I'm going to tell you, it was called the Spanish Princess. It was a historical drama on Stars called the Spanish Princess. Sister Chantel, let me get this to you, Sister Chantel. I know you're somewhere in the chat. I know you've been busy on the YouTube circuit. We're going from Giants now, Sister Chantel, to the Dumb Diversus. If you'd like to come on, Sister Chantel. Now you start to understand how all these laws and statutes, because America became a corporation after the Civil War. This is why you have a national debt. The bonds of the debt, the T-bonds, the T-bills, are not being serviced anymore because people are now withdrawing their support from the bonds based off of human collateral. Who instilled the human collateral? It was instilled under subjugation because of Rome saying until they said so. Why? Let me reread this again. This is from Balanta.org. I just put this in the chat. This is where we're reading from. And a document called the Dumb Diversus, the document stated, "We grant to you full and free power through the apostolic authority by this edict, by the Roman Catholic Church, to invade, conquer, fight, subjugate the Saracens and pagans and other infidels and other enemies of Christ." Well, if we're saying Yahushua HaMashiach, come on. and to lead their persons in perpetual servitude. Why? That's a bondmanship. Well, we turn right back around into what? Deuteronomy 28. To apply and appropriate realms, duchies, royal palaces, principalities, and other dominions, possessions, and goods of this kind to you, and your use and your successors, the kings of Portugal. Wow. I don't know. Maybe this ties in, Brother Yacoba. You may have some. This may be leading to something, especially from what you had yesterday. I'm just saying. And here this is, just to give you more context of clarity. This is from Balanta.org. This declaration of war is now considered a crime against humanity and was followed up with monopoly contracts such known as asientos, which were variously given to private merchants from 1518 to 1595, to Portugal from 1595 to 1640, to the Genoese, basically Italy, 1662 to 1671, to the Dutch and the Portuguese from 1671 to 1701, to France from 1701 to 1713, to the British from 1713 to 1750, the Spanish from 1765 to 1795. In the United States, several colonies became combatants to the Dum Diversas War when they legalized slavery. And you can go through that. Have you noticed that there's one particular country? There's a couple of countries that were not included in that Dum Diversas declaration, that was not included in those asientos. Oh, we're going deep, family. I see you, Brother Doug. I see you. This is not a typical Quest to Unite app. I told you this is a special report. This is a Q2UA. But we want to show you what was going on. Because why? There's a legalese to this language. Because if they did it to us in the Dum Diversas, guess who they're also going to do it to? Yes, family, you know they're doing it to them. Why is that? What was the Pope literally saying about the U.S. 2 weeks ago? Their brand of Christianity, their brand of following Christ is not in line with our values. Are you getting this? Oh my goodness. He that leadeth into captivity shall what? Go into captivity, and he that leadeth with the or killeth with the sword shall be what? Killed by the sword. Do you see what's happening here? I'm just giving you these contemporary context of how they are falling into their judgment and eventually their own captivity. Because why? They're now becoming enemies of who? Of Christ. Do you not see this genocide? Is this Christ-like? Is this something that you do? Right? Well, yeah, it is. That's exactly what you told us to do. Come on, Catholic Church. And now you're getting mad at us because we're doing what you told us to do? Yeah, but it's not Christ-like. So therefore, man, they don't have their back. Their back is being, the countries, the nations are turning their back against them. Why? Because it's the scapegoat. Sister Chantel, thank you for joining us on Quest to Unite Africa. You're on mute.
Shalom. Thank you for having me. Shalom to everyone in the chat. Shalom to the rest of the panel. I only just came in. I just got the link, so I'm not really sure what you're talking about right now. I heard the rest of the countries leaving them. I imagine you must be talking about the West.
Oh,
Or
we went into a very good deep dive that focused in on what's happening in the United States, especially with the Donald Trump controversy,
mm,
what that controversy is leading to, how states' rights are looking as though they may spring up. Sister Shar, is there anything else that I'm missing on this?
No, that's about it. You know, the sideshow is in full effect. We're just kind of watching the nonsense of this nation failing in the public eye.
but isn't this dangerous for them though? What they're doing, because at any moment these laws that they set up to well, originally everything that they set up, all these laws, was to keep our people down, but these laws that they set up, they will be used against them.
Oh,
they must be able to see that. It's the same thing with the ICJ. It was set up. What did the man over there turn around and say? That these were set up for them. It was set up on the backs of theirs. See, they're the only ones that are allowed to be oppressed. I was listening to another Israelite who was basically saying, I can't remember the name of his channel, it just kind of popped on my television, but he said he was going through some professor who said that by law they're not, it's not lawful. The law does not work according to, like, for example, they if you are a particular group living in that particular nation, you can call on the injustice of that nation because you are a citizen of that nation. And they called into question, they basically used the example of those people and their H word, and also what happened to I think it was the Chinese or the Koreans with the Japanese, and called them what they went through a H word. But they avoided, she said, it's not the same with slavery. We cannot call that a H word because we were not citizens of their countries. And still, we're not that either today. And I found that very interesting. That's how they use their law.
And what is the legal argument? What's the legal, premise of that? And that is the dumb diverses. And now with that dumb diverses, this is what they're looking at. Okay, it's remember when I brought this on out. Remember, I'm gonna get this article. It says, Pope warns United States of values, and this is, and I'm so the Pope has had more things of this. So Pope warns that for some, there's crux now. I'm gonna go to AP News. I'll drop this AP News link.
Like, isn't this just Haman's gallows?
It is. Oh my god. Yeah. So this is why I say we have to really dig into this. So I'm gonna switch this on over to this one. All right, I'm gonna share this instead. All right, hopefully you all can see this. All right. This was as of last year, right? August 28th, 2023. This is all within 12 months. This isn't just the U.S. Catholic Church. This is an indictment on the U.S. Pope says some backward conservatives in U.S. Catholic Church have replaced faith with ideology. This is what the Pope has said. Let's drill down to this article. This is all fair use. Pope Francis has blasted the backwardness of some conservatives in the U.S. Catholic Church, saying they have replaced faith with ideology and that a correct understanding of Catholic doctrine always allows for change over time. But we'll go on down to this. Francis made the comments in a private meeting with the Portuguese members of this Jesuit religious order while visiting Lisbon. Why? Because he always goes through to what? His enforcers. Let's come back to here. Who's his enforcers? Just because you have, quote unquote, democracy, you still have, and your successors, the kings of Portugal. Because why? Let's read this again. The dumb diverses we grant to you full and free power through the apostolic authority by this edict to invade, conquer, fight, subjugate the Saracens and pagans and other infidels and other enemies of Christ, and to leave their persons in perpetual servitude, and to apply and appropriate realms, duchies, royal palaces, principalities, and other dominions, possessions, and goods of this kind to you and your use and your successors, the kings of Portugal. Why is that important that he said it to? Let's share this tab again. Francis made the comments in a private meeting with the Portuguese members of his Jesuit religious order while visiting Lisbon on August 5th. You can understand. I have that in there.
Oh my gosh. They've boxed themselves in.
Do you see? Do you see? Do you see?
I see.
Do you see? Oh my goodness. Look, I told you, the Most High was always putting bread crumbs.
It's so funny they didn't see it coming.
No, they didn't.
Oh my gosh.
Why? Yeah. So why is that? And remember, I'm going to tell you, that was then, and then it got demonstrably worse in terms of the Pope's blasting of the U.S. Since then, it's got demonstrably worse. Here's this, Gale.com. Pope warns that freedom to choose also imposes duties. Oh boy. I'm just going to keep this. I'm going to put this article here. What? Because why? By 2 or 3 witnesses. Look, they're getting set up. The U.S. is getting set up. Let me. The U.S. is getting a classic okie doke. We would have healed Babylon. She refused to be healed. This is on there. It's a little, what is that? Document publication, but it's from Reuters and New York Times. And I just want to read this this right here. This is the article preview. So Pope lectured to the United States yesterday, and that's going to be, they said date 12 September of 1987. This is in 1987, but they've been building up the case. It would be great tragedy for the entire human family if the United States, which prides itself on consecration of freedom, were to lose sight of the true meaning of that noble word. Because why? What then do you have? You become what? An enemy of Christ. Let's continue this. Pope Francis warns ideological splits in the church. Stay focused on the poor, not theory. Okay. This is more contemporary. So I'm trying to show you this. I'm trying to show you how they have. Let me show this. Let me present this. Go on. You know, I'm here in the midst of of an
What's
attorney.
fascinating is
Go ahead.
that most evangelical churches who represent the primary support base for, the conservative political machine in this nation do not recognize that they, by default, are under the jurisdiction of the Catholic Church. Like
Oh my goodness.
all of your ideology, all of your doctrine, all of your practices are Catholic. And the way that, if this looks exactly like how the Catholic Church exercised its muscle over kings in Europe to rule as the other side of the kingdom, the other political arm. It had always been the church. It had always been the papacy. And so now, speaking
Yep.
out against the United States in this way, it's now revealing its authority over the United States by virtue of the country's consent to evangelical Christianity and Catholicism and any other branch that falls under Catholicism.
And the fact that every president goes to swear allegiance to this hope.
I think that's your mic, Sister Chantel. Yeah, that's your mic. Yeah, you're having some major feedback.
Sorry.
And isn't Biden, wasn't he like fighting for his status as a Catholic when he first got into office?
Yes, he was. And they said that he did not exhibit the what was those words? It was prayer-face. He did not exhibit the attributes of being a true Catholic. What does that mean? That means, let me read this because here we go. Oh my goodness, the case is being built, and we didn't even understand how the case is being built. Let me get into this article. It's from AP. I put this in the chat. Pope Francis warns against ideological splits in the church, says focus on the poor, not theory. And here it is. Amid resistance to some Vatican policy by more conservative fractions of the Catholic Church, Pope Francis on Saturday cautioned the faithful against fracturing into groups based on our own ideas. Why? He issued the call to abandon ecclesiastical ideologies in his homily. So basically, right, he changed the laws and things of that nature. He did that.
Do you know what he's actually getting rid of? It's what lies at the center of Protestantism was the belief that you could interpret and follow the scriptures to the dictates of your own heart and your own conscience. And what they're saying is that no, you're going to go by what we said. We are the guiding light. We're the authority on the word. None of them are, but let's say there are some Gentiles among who are within any of these groups, these organizations, and yes, the Most High is calling them out because we know that there's some of them who are coming out of this. Now they're sitting there. There could be some of them that disapprove of the practices. A lot of them have actually been they highly disapprove of what this Pope has been coming out with, especially with the Rainbow Coalition. And so basically he's saying to them, no, don't trust that Holy Spirit that may be in you. Trust me, I'm the authority.
Okay, all right. So I gotta go back into this Dumb Diverses and the breakdown of this Dumb Diverses, and this is through Balanta.org. So there's a reason I'm giving you all this. We grant to you full and free power through the apostolic authority by this edict to invade, conquer, fight, subjugate the Saracens and pagans and other infidels and other enemies of Christ.
It's basically Order 66, like Sister Chantel. It's basically the Pope saying, Palpatine, it's treason then. You need to go to the court. I am
So
the
it's
court.
treason then. I am the Senate.
Basically, like, the empire, you're challenging the Roman Empire. This is what he's saying, and you can't. You have to kiss the ring. That's what he's basically saying.
Because why? Because authority has now been challenged. Because why? Because now there are issues. Look, you start falling out of line because you're now creating an embarrassment to what? To this order.
Do you know something though? Sorry to cut you, but I literally, as you was reading, where it says that, what was it that, and any enemies of theirs, right? It put me in mind of Romans 11, verse 28. As concerning the gospel, they are enemies for your sakes. But as touching the election, they are beloved for the Father's sake. I just thought, wow, okay, I don't think that they truly understand that they're fulfilling prophecy. They are our enemies. They are. You know, their belief system is not our belief system. And who they worship, we already know it's not the Most High of the Bible, nor Yahushua HaMashiach.
So I want to, because this is Quest Unite Africa. This is a 501c3. It's a nonprofit. But I want us to get this into clarity, the context of the legal written authoritative jurisprudence that is still officially recognized. If you didn't know where your laws come from, there are universal laws and universal decrees on these truths, right?
You said universal.
Yep. And this is what you even have in the U.S. Constitution. This is what you had in the Independence, the Declaration of Independence. This is what you have.
But really and truly, sorry, Karis, what you are saying is Catholic laws and Catholic decrees.
Yes. Universal.
Yes.
Yep,
Apostolic.
they are the universal church.
Come on.
And aren't
And
those
if
same
they're
laws
still in
derived from those other people's laws that they like to say, those 7 laws? I'm not going to say it, but I think our patriarch and then those laws.
No.
You don't know? Okay. I won't say it. Never mind. But you could also put the
No, I was saying the no laws.
Yeah, the no laws.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sake of the channel, for sake of what we're doing, I want us to really understand. Look, now you understand. This is why we think the way that we think. There are some
Oh my gosh, I know where you're going with this.
There's some Gentiles. There's some Gentiles that they get mad. They get mad because we're telling them the truth, and all we're trying to tell you is, don't get caught up in what they're doing, because it's going to lead to you going into slavery.
The trap they lay down, they're going to spring it. Are you inferring the fact that these laws are universal, so by that terminology they are Catholic, and that all these European laws follow the Catholic creed? And the original Catholic creed.
What did our brother Ron over there at Truth Unedited expose 2-3 months ago? What did our brother Ron show over there? Hey, listen, even though you may have split or segmented, guess what? You're still under Catholicism. Each and every one of us.
Yeah. But
and that's why we were instructed to come out of her. so that we do not partake in her judgments. We had to renounce her authority over us to be judged under those universal pagan mishmash jumbo of religious law.
Yep.
But if you
The pit dug for us, they're falling into. The pit dug for us, they're falling into. Because if you didn't understand, don't get wrapped up. Let me bring this on over again, because a lot of our folks, we get wrapped up on what we see applied to us. We get wrapped up on it. That's just how it goes. We get emotionally charged, we get emotionally invested, and we don't even see past the Saracens and pagans, which is us, the Saracens and pagans, and we don't even look at and other enemies of Christ. What are they setting the stage for? Especially with what you're seeing in Gaza, especially with what you're seeing in Ukraine and Iran and other things, other places of the world,
other people,
and
basically
other people.
the global South.
Exactly. You did this to them. That is not in accordance to the laws of Christ. They say laws of Christ. That's what they say. And the doctrines. And because you're doing that, right, you have this ideology and theory that is not constructive. We've been saying this. We've been telling them this.
This is what the Pope is saying to these nations, to America.
Exactly, because we've been saying the same thing.
But that's not really the case, though, is it? The case is that they are following, by the very nature of these Catholic laws, they're just following it to its natural conclusion.
Yes.
So basically, the fact that they are feeling so those laws are still inactive, which means that they have every right in their mind, in their framework of the law, they can go back in there.
Yes, but here's also what you have. There's always a scapegoat. Because why? And other enemies of Christ. It doesn't mean just black people.
It means
other
enemies
of Christ. What are they setting the stage for?
Protestantism is an enemy of the Catholic Church,
and
because it's protesting.
It's a lot simpler than that. They're setting the stage for a scapegoat.
Yeah, because it's a catch-all. Like that's the catch-all terminology. Yep. Anyone who we forgot to name by name, including them too, if we define them as an enemy.
It's a catch-all. It's a scapegoat. Here's your scapegoat. Here's your
and those people over there.
And not just there, here.
Mm.
Here in the West, especially in the UK, especially in the US. That's
highly concentrated.
That's the scapegoat. Now they're bringing them into the scapegoat. What does that mean? Well, it means that everything is unraveling. You now have a divided nation. Who here needs to then stand up for the virtues and ensure that what? Subjugation now takes place. You are now a barbarian. You are now this. You are now that.
But this breaks everything about Christendom. If you use them as a scapegoat, then I mean they've set them up as the gem. They've protected them. So how can you ratify with that? How can you do this? If that makes any sense. I mean, you can, but I'm just saying, how do you manage to limp on after this? You can't. There is no going back.
Nope.
That's utter chaos.
They've used this country to perpetuate whatever they needed to perpetuate, and now they don't need this country anymore. Now the beast is bucking and trying to get the rider off, if you know what I mean. They're done with her.
Because you're
can you just address?
You're gonna have the West. You're gonna have a West, and then you're gonna have a global South. Because why? Because a kingdom had to fall for another kingdom to rise out of. Now 2 kingdoms to rise out of. right? You're not going to have an antichrist, right? Because you had the two legs.
Isn't Russia Orthodox Catholic?
No,
Yes,
Russia,
they
well,
are.
Russia is Orthodoxy. They're Orthodoxy. So yes,
Mm.
I would say they were the Byzantine, but remember they split before you had a worldwide conquest, which was
That is true.
which
And
is
they didn't want
under
no part
here,
of it.
and they didn't want any part because you can clearly see in this document the declaration of total war is now considered a crime against humanity, and then you can see the nations and the states the nations and the states that had been used for the trafficking of Africans around the world. You don't see China, you don't see Russia, but you do see them. What does it say? And I think it's Baruch, all those that have known Jacob. I'm just saying.
I mean, it would make sense to me that if you have an Orthodox church attached to Russia with clean hands with respect to slavery, why they would be positioned on the other side of the board
Yes.
when US
Exactly.
Yes. Do you see how the board is setting up?
Mm-hmm.
You have the white against the black. The black pieces were the subjugators. The white horse, the white pieces are Russia and the global south, basically Russia and China, coming through to do what? To have the moral imperative that's what? Granted by the church to then sweep out the garbage, for lack of better terms.
Then
Isn't
those
it?
10 nations will appear, and then to make a new kingdom, and then 3 of those nations will fall. And I feel like I know who those 3 nations are, like you were saying back when, because Kenya's really showing its face right now.
Oh my gosh, that man. Oh God.
So yeah, is this deep? Yes, it is deep. Because why? Now we understand where this is all falling into. And I know our folks in the chat, they were quick on that before I could, lay this on down. But now you're starting to see the road being laid down. Because why? Once everything pops off here in the United States, now you have to have what? You have to have your world policing authority to do what? To get everything in order. Why is that? Because this nation has gone rogue. Why is that? Because they're doing their own ideological practices that has only produced what? Death, sorrow, hardship, slavery, subjugation. We got to bring them back to what? This order of how they are able to come into Rome. And in doing so, hey, guess what? Thank you for your time in captivity for all those that had been subjugated. Hey, we messed up. Rome still survives. But now
and that's what I was just about to say. Like,
yep, I knew
Rome
it.
still has his hands. Like his hand is still hidden.
Oh,
I was gonna say it's the pot calling the kettle black, though, isn't it?
Yes. So by coming down on the U.S.'s hypocrisy,
yes,
they should be the arbiter of justice under some moral, universal, ethical code, and continue to hide their hand of being the ones that granted authority to start the whole slave trade nonsense.
Exactly, and in doing so, hey, we put you into captivity, and now we have the edict of taking you out of captivity. And here's a little bit of change. And here's a little bit of change.
That's not the beast, I don't know what is.
Isn't
No. If that isn't Palpatine, I don't know what is.
Because
that's beautiful.
Yes.
You gotta admire it. It's beautiful. It's sadistically beautiful. It's so wicked. It's like I think to myself, George Lucas must have seen this coming because he literally wrote it in the film.
Yep. That's literally some clandestine, evil genius.
That's what Palpatine did, especially in episode 1. From episode 1 to episode 3, he played both sides, and then he came off clean. We've all seen it when he stood in that big dome hall of theirs.
Oh yeah,
and proclaimed himself the emperor. But he was the one that was behind it all the time.
That's what this reminds me of right now. And then what's her name? Padme said, "This is where democracy dies."
He dies, yes.
But actually,
like this, please like, share, subscribe to Quest to Unite Africa. Please like, share, subscribe to Quest to Unite Africa. This is why we do the work. This is it right here. We don't know all the pieces, but we know where things are leading. So this is what's going on. It's not a question of if you're going to be released. It's not a question of how you're going to be released. The question is, how are we going to be able to work with our brothers and sisters when we get released? Because why? Because there's dumb verses that they had. Let me show this again. I got to show this again. Understand who was always the one taking effect with it. Portugal. Understand what's going on with Francis, Pope Francis. He's telling what? The European Union and other nations, okay, we're going to reverse this. And now you better jump on their side because why? Because now we're putting the sacrificial lamb to be sacrificed. Because why? There's blood for blood.
But
that's literally how it goes. That's literally the word. If anybody, let me know if I'm off track. Let me know if I'm off kilter. Yeah, go ahead.
It just hit me that this document is evidence that the entire Babylonian system had always been a theocracy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course.
Our theocracy, our ancient governmental system. They told us we were in a democracy. They told us they were spreading democracy, but it was always a theocracy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So when the Gentiles say we have inherited lies, it's the belief of this democracy that you can vote and have a say. You have no say. It was always you were just another pawn.
Yes.
And not only that, we were the purveyors of it. We were like, everyone got drunk off of what we were selling them.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I said this is going to be a very powerful Quest to Unite Africa. This is a very special report. It's a divided nation. Why is it a divided nation? Because some folks can see that they're going into captivity and other folks cannot understand it. This is what's happening. Why do we say you're going to go into captivity? Because why? Because you're going to have to pay off some debts. Because why? Because this place has been deemed the sacrificial lamb.
Wait, Brother Karras, wait. I'm sorry. Part of what the decree was that the U.S. is in violation of apostolic law that gave you the right to choose your religion, because we are the universal church, by the way. So you can choose whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So your First Amendment was always about us giving you the right to choose whatever you wanted to worship. You could call it whatever you wanted. It was all Catholic anyway, because Catholic is universal. So even what we hold so dear as the First Amendment was only by permission of Rome.
I was just talking about this with my mum this morning. I said to her that if you look back, it's basically exactly what Rome was. Rome didn't care Rome really didn't care about the fact that I don't care who you worship, but show me allegiance. They had to stand before that goddess. What's her name? Romadia or Roma or whatever.
Dionysus or which one was it? Dionysus or Athena? Yeah.
No, her name was like Rome, but it was like Romeo or Rome something another. But it was basically Rome. But they had to stand before this statue of this goddess, and they had to throw I don't know if it was like a laurel leaf in the altar, and they had to swear allegiance to Rome. And that's exactly what you guys have to do. You have to stand up and give allegiance to that flag. It's the same thing. You can worship whatever gods you please, but you need to make sure that if push comes to shove, you put aside those gods and you do what we need you to do when the time calls for it.
Exactly. What was and let me hit you all with something. Let me hit you all with something real deep. Real deep. Real deep.
How deep?
It's deep. Here we go. Remember, according to the myths, right? The legend of Rome.
Mm-hmm.
Rome was founded by who? Romulus and Remus.
And Remus.
And they were raised by who? A mother wolf.
Mm-hmm.
Come on now. It's always two. It's always two.
And you know what's more evident now than ever? Britain breaking, that civil war between Britain and us was the mortal head wound, but it still went on. If I'm quoting that right, the beast would have a mortal wound, and then they would still
the deadly wound would be healed,
and they would still divide its power, but still go on. And like from the succession of Britain and how they propped this nation up, that makes sense now.
The two as well. There's always two. Romulus and Remus. There's also Chittim and Edom.
Yes.
And they became the same.
Do you see where Gates of Hold is going this week? I'm telling y'all.
Yeah, and I was
understand the full context. Yeah, understand the full context of everything, because we're seeing it playing out in real time. That's it. We're seeing it playing out in real time.
That's a lot to digest right now.
It is.
Do you see? That was deep, wasn't it? That was deep. Now you're seeing how the system was playing out. Because why? Because it wasn't the fact that the system was going to end. No, it's the fact that the system now has to turn and shape into something else. Because why? It has to cut off another limb. It has to cut off another arm. Matter of fact, it just has to sacrifice its whole self and then fall like, what is it? What show was that? Like when I forgot. I think it was like it was one of these movies I saw. Somebody thought that they killed like this creature, and then the creature turned into like all these like little nasty little snake maggot things, and they all scattered.
They use this country to entrench their universalism throughout the entire globe.
Yes, it was their military arm, the hammer of the whole world.
Military and missionaries. Because that's a part of the landscape that we're going into, family, that is very much Roman and very deeply into it. There are roots deep in our homeland that Rome placed there.
Man. Yeah, this is a deep one. I didn't know.
And also, Brother Karras, how we all speak different languages. They did that too.
Yes. Mm-hmm. All different provinces and things of that nature. Because why? Because that was a Babylonian effort, right? the satraps and provinces and things of that nature. Everyone had their decree, right, brought to them in their own languages. Wow. Well, listen. Now y'all know what's getting ready to happen. Look, we don't figure this on out. If it wasn't for you pesky Hebrews, cue that tactical end weapon.
Like Zoink Scoop.
Cue that Duke Nukem. Because why? By Garnet, these Negroes figured it out. And if these Negroes figured it out, then guess what? This is now a scary proposition for them, for the Gentiles. Listen, Gentiles, we told you. We're telling you what was getting ready to come down.
You need that soft violin music. You can't hit them with it like this. You got to soften it down for them, you know?
Do I need to give it to them in my best?
The final countdown.
Not even that. You just need some soft violin or the Bruce Banner music.
with a hawk
Yeah,
runs off, or I'm giving them the green hawk look as I'm running off into the sunset.
Yep.
My goodness.
You do it the same way they indoctrinated the lion through fairy tales and children's songs.
Oh,
you have to do it as a kid bop.
America's about to fall, and you're about to go into captivity. Bop,
yeah.
We tried to tell them what Rome was going to do, but they looked at us, and then they tried to throw poo. And then we told them, hey, you may not want a genocide, because not, you're going to be taken on a captivity ride. Oh, boy. Yeah.
Yeah, let Doug tell them.
Doug is my backup singer. You better not. Doug will come up on it there.
Just ad lib.
You have Doug's refrain right there. Give me my give me my
Easy now.
Oh boy. Oh man.
They'll be like, I don't like that one. He's too mean.
You give Christ a bad name. I don't even know who sings that song, but that's just popped up in my head.
That was a good one, Garth.
Oh my goodness. All right, thank you, Sister Shaw. I know you got to get.
Yes, shalom, family. This was such
shalom.
Shalom, Sister Shaw.
So
wow.
So, fam, I wanted to bring that on. You know, we had to bring that to you all's attention, because when people talk about, oh, it's gonna get better before it gets worse, or it's gonna get worse before it gets better. Well, the problem is,
I think you got that backwards.
I had that totally backwards. I'm sorry, totally backwards. Well, the problem
Don't give them false hope.
I know. I'm after just gave them the kids bop, huh? After we just give the lullaby.
Exactly. They'll start to believe it.
Oh my goodness. But you know, it was one of those things when people were asking, well, won't it get better? Won't it get better? And then it's like, no. It's
exactly.
not. Why? Because if you didn't understand what was intended for us in this dumb diverses, y'all didn't read the fine print, and other infidels and enemies of Christ.
And it was perpetual, meaning never to end.
Mm-hmm. What are they doing? Remember, look, we done told you. We don't have to worry about how they've treated us. We don't have to worry about any of the get back, because let me tell you, the Most High's get back is a whole lot worse than anything we can imagine. And it's already been planned out. All we had said is just speak truth and peace. That's it. That's it. This thing is already in motion, and it's been in motion. If you hadn't noticed, when that motion started, it started literally 2021, 2022. Plain and simple. 2021, 2022.
It started when Putin was just going to take a stroll at the border and just sit there and rust.
Mm-hmm. And do you not think that it was not planned or calculated to show those iconography?
Oh,
well,
definitely.
And because here's the thing. Look, you got to understand, Rome is trying to get off with clean hands. You know, if we could have showed you all this a while ago, but guess what? You know, we were held hostage by an apostate nation. Do you see that? We were held hostage by an enemy of Christ. And you're not Christ-like if you don't do what? If you're not trying to show the truth. Come on.
Karis, do you remember that video of when they found when Putin released those icons, and you had there were some videos where you had the Gentiles' reaction, and there was one particular woman who turned around, an older woman. She turned around and said, "Putin, what are you doing? You're trying to rile up these Negroes," and she was saying how we gave you Obama. I even voted for him, and you should have been happy for that. And it's it wasn't all that. It was what she said. What are you trying to do with these Negroes? That, when I heard that, I instantly knew these people know exactly who we are, and they know exactly what is happening. They knew, because that put them in a state of, you understand that from 2020, from 2019, it was la-di-da-di-da, going through my life, doing all the good things that we like to do, living our Gentile lives and living it well. And then all of a sudden, 2020, bam, it's one thing after another, after another, after another. They can't catch their breath. And we're just like, wow.
So people really aren't getting this equation. Let me break this on down to you. Russia and China are the other equation of the Roman scale.
Mm-hmm.
You have to understand, Russia and China are the other equation of the Roman scale. It doesn't matter if they're what they believe in. It doesn't matter. What matters was they were always held in reserve because they were there to ensure that, right, when this system was done, they had another system to replace it. When this part of Rome was done, they had another part of Rome to replace it. Why do you think Russia doesn't care? Hey, you can be Islam, you can be Hindu, whatever. You can do all the things you want to do, because why? All we're trying to do is just be copacetic and have trade with one another and keep everything balanced.
I don't know if you brought this to attention, but that duality again, obviously with, Russia, China, Gog, Magog and everything, but we know that Esau's sigil is always going to be the eagle, but it's like the Byzantine Empire and, the Rome, the Eastern versus the West. And it's like they're showing that in their actual sigil, the double-headed eagle, the black-headed eagle. And it's also the fact that, you have the two states. You have Russia and you have China. And their belief system is very polar, but they unite on the secular. See, Russia is very religious, but China is very atheistic and hates religion. So it's you've always got that just like you had the papacy and you had the pagan. You had the pagan just before the papacy. If it wasn't for the papacy, that pagan aspect of Rome would have died, would have shriveled up. But the papacy rose up to give a new lease of life to this beast. And we're seeing the same thing, just the same way how we're seeing this beast rising, this one is falling. But before this one falls, in order, like I said before, in order for this beast to come, there has to be a transaction. And that transaction has to be the currency of the spiritual world, which is blood, which is why Yahushua HaMashiach had to die for our sins. Blood is the transaction. So there is, that's why when you see in Jeremiah 50 and 51, especially 51, it talks about, and even Joel chapter 3, when it talks about multitudes and multitudes of, and talking about how in Revelation that the blood up to the horse's bridle, and we literally saw that of these two horses that was released here. We understand that there's going to be this huge transaction. So before this comes into power, there has to be a transaction. There has to be blood has to be spilt, and it's gonna be a lot. There's going to be a lot.
And when you say that, I just literally remember those two pillars, Boaz and Joachim.
Yes.
They represent the duality, and then I just remember the Twin Towers. Oh my gosh, this is so much to take in right now. My brain is.
And Garth, what else does those two pillars represent? It represents a doorway. It is a portal. Again, the two pillars. Again, the two kingdoms. Literally, it forms like a pillar, like it forms like a portal. So
like the
you
two
have
legs at the statue.
Right, exactly like that. The two legs of the statue, the two pillars. It is a portal, and what's coming through the emergence of this beast, which is going to be ruled by whatever comes through. We know what it is, but whatever.
Thank you, Sister Chantel. I know you've been riding the Hebrew chitlin circuit. We're talking about cow chitlins. Cow chitlins, come on. Oh boy, yes, family. This all ties together. Yes, family. There is now you're starting to understand and see really how deep this goes. It's been very deep, right? You know, folks were trying to say, "Oh, it's this, it's that. Don't worry about it. Don't." It's nothing. No, it is. See, the problem that what we do is we tell the truth. That's the problem. And we tell the truth. Listen, it's not for just the sakes of Hebrews, but it's for the sakes of everyone.
All who wish to be saved.
All those
who love life.
All those that call on the name of who? Yahushua HaMashiach.
Mm-hmm.
That's how this thing goes. That's the way it was. Now, trust me, when they find out that they've been sacrificed to the meat grinder, oh, that's the time to go. That's the time to go. I'm gonna save this land. No, there's nothing to save. And then when they realize that they're gonna go into captivity, and captivity just means they're gonna go into what? Perpetual subjugation. To who? To now the north and the south, the east and the west, to those two 10-toe kingdoms. That's why they already said America is not going to be a major player in this next iteration. Literally, that came out of their mouths. Their mouths. Why? Because you had to see what edict they're going from. They're not saying anything special. They're just telling you what the game plan has always been.
Can I just quickly address something from Yah Saint? So
Well,
if
give me a
oh,
second.
sorry, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, 'cause I put the time limit that we're
Okay, yeah, I've just seen. Okay, sorry about that.
okay. So yeah, so with that, I'd like to final comments, and then we got to sign off.
I'll
Okay.
go. Hey everyone, shalom. Enjoy your Shabbat.
Definitely enjoy your Shabbat because there's a lot to think about. And honestly, I say this: pray about it. Pray about it. Don't just come here and be like, well, Brother Kara said, no, I want you to pray about it. I want you to go and ask our Heavenly Father, Father, thank you, but please reveal, please let me know, please let me get insight. It's about a relationship with Him.
Mm.
Go ahead, Sister Chantel.
Okay, I was going to say, and look out for what's going to be happening over the weekend, because we know that something always happens, you know, a multitude of things actually. But I was going to just quickly address this, and then I'll say my goodbyes or whatever. But okay, so how would this play out if you are technically not citizens? Well, if you're not citizens, if these United Nations, and I don't mean the actual United Nations, but these nations unite in a coalition against America, they're going to be seeking a judgment on the citizens of that nation, which you are not. And the original citizens, the real citizens, would be those who literally come from the lineages of the original people that came over there. Not the original, but the original people that colonized that place. So it kind of plays into that when you read the scriptures, and it says that in Jeremiah, where it says everyone will go back to his own land.
Yep.
Because that's their citizens. They signed documents. They went there on their own, by their own will. We did not. Others went there on their own will, but they came in after. They didn't come in at the foundation of that system, of that country. So their ties, it's almost like they're coming in from different lands, especially the ones that come from the lands that didn't partake in the slave trade, right? They are coming from outside of that. They're going to have to, their own lands are being dealt with right now anyway, but they're going to be going back home to that. But the ones that are tied to this, they are going to go through, they are the actual true citizens. As, what's her face? The one that literally put that Indian brother in his place. I've forgotten her name. Ann Coulter. We know what she stands for, right? So people like her are going to be, as they want to keep saying, they're the true citizens. Then you're going to deal with that. It's your declaration. You're going to deal with that. You will be the ones that will go into this captivity because you are the citizens. Everybody else was brought in afterwards, and they will go back to their own land, and we will go back to our own land because we were never citizens at all in the first place. We weren't even bought by our own free will.
Wow. Thank you, Sister Chantel. This is a deep one.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. Shalom, everyone.
All right, shalom. All right. Well, family, I pray you all enjoyed that. That was really a good, deep one. We don't play around here at Quest Unite Africa. We definitely appreciate your support. This is why I'm telling you the work that we do and we're doing right now. The reason I said, look, I had to get some things going because I have to prepare for some things. Because why we are still able to prepare in the summertime, we got to prepare. We have to. It is imperative. We're not just sitting here just to, look at all the craziness, and it's crazy. We get it. But there are things that the Most High has given us the mind to do. If you'd like to see what we're doing and how we're doing things, please sign up for our Zoom meeting on Sunday. This Sunday, 11 o'clock. I usually do our monthly highlights. I'll be heading that. And then each week we have it themed so folks can present what we're doing within. Oh yeah, no. You don't even understand, Brother Doug. You don't understand what conversations we've been in. That's just a taste. A taste. Y'all don't even realize what we've been in. That's just a taste. Because we're doing the work. Because it's the Most High who allows that. Thank you, family, for your support. Keep us in your prayers. Thank you, family, for helping us meet our goals. We have weekly goals because there are things that we're trying to do. And I thank the Most High for his blessing on the organization, which is his organization. It's not mine. It's not Mike's. It's not Sister Shard's. It's not Brother Garth's. It's none of the boards. It's the Most High's organization. And I thank the Most High for what he continues to do each and every day, because it is truly awesome. It is truly a work. I can't even tell you about all the stuff that we're doing. Because honestly, I'm not allowed to. The board's like, Brother Karras, nope, Brother Karras, nope. Don't tell him about, nope. And I said, I get it. Because we're still in Rome. We're still in Rome. We're still Saracens in Rome. All right. That's for another day. Hallelujah. But with that said, family, I gotta get up on out of here. I got things to do. Hallelujah. I will be back on Monday. I'll be back on Monday. We'll see what transpires over the weekend, family. We'll see if I have to get on and start talking about some mushroom clouds that are tactical in nature. I'm just saying. Oh my goodness. Now you know the plan. Now you know. Hallelujah. So with that said, family, shalom, salama, siemi, shalom, peace and blessings. Yasharel.